The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone!
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question?
Man, there was just no local news going on anywhere. It's like literally everyone's on vacation but me.
Wow. Well, I'm here.
That's true.
Well,
we can always check the Valley Patriot. They've always got some really good local news, the Valley Patriot.
They do. I saw their headline this week. It's pretty good.
What do we have? We get the big drug busting Andover. We can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm literally making it up as I go along today. Quite frankly, I should have just stayed in bed. I should have called today off after that big double show last week.
Right. In all of that, nothing.
Put my phone on Do Not Disturb because some idiot, knowing that I'm doing a podcast, will purposely call me. You know what I do every morning? I wake up, right?
What do you do?
I wake up and I go to Facebook.
Yeah.
And I start scrolling and it's like Karina selfie, Karina in a restaurant with her friends, Karina in a nightclub with her friends, another Karina selfie, Karina's on the beach, Karina's after the beach. And then finally, like about an hour later of Karina selfies, I finally get to my mail. That was actually funny. You were supposed to laugh at that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm working on something for you.
Oh,
to put
okay.
in the
All right.
show,
Okay.
So. Tee-hee-hee. My apologies.
Right, that's okay.
I'm working on that picture you wanted.
All right, okay. Because you not laughing means the people at home weren't laughing.
They probably were. Sorry.
Actually, if they do it, and everyone knows what I'm talking about, so they probably are actually laughing. I never get tired of Karina selfies.
No. Nope.
And there is no shortage of them on Facebook. Lifetime movie of the week, starring you and I must have not been paying attention. Just talking to me. Do you think that you could read the question? I'll have to read that story after. That one looks pretty good. So there is a GoFundMe for Melvin Taylor, by the way. I will share it again on my page. It's up to like 60 grand, but we got to get that a lot higher. He's got a lot of medical bills. We got to save Mel.
Poor thing.
All right, should we start the show? I don't know. Should we? I guess.
Your show, your call. I'm good to go.
All right, I'm going to need some water too. After the podcast thing, that always purges me.
Sure.
Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi atop Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. You really don't have to watch today's show because I really don't have anything compelling to talk about. I had a bunch of stuff. I got some body cam footage, and I got a bunch of other things. But I instead of like inundating you with the same story every week, I'm just going to bleed it out. I'm going to hold that for another show. And it's the middle of summer, and I also know that even though last week was probably our highest show in a long time, maybe our second highest show ever as far as ratings goes. I know that most people it's the first week of August. Everyone's on vacation. Everybody's at the beach. And even though you could still watch the show when you're on the beach and while you're on vacation, nobody's thinking about back home. Nobody's thinking about politics. If you're smart. Because if I was on vacation, I wouldn't be checking in back home to see what was going on. I wouldn't be checking politics. I wouldn't be watching CNN like I do every day in my office. I would be as far away from a TV screen and a phone or a tablet as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what my ultimate vacation is. Like everybody has their own dream vacation. Some people it's, go to Italy. Some people it's to go to the Bahamas. Me, I don't care where I go. All right. My dream vacation doesn't matter where. It matters what I'm doing. And so my dream vacation is a hot tub in the hotel room. So I don't have to share it with like the public. I don't like the public. I don't like crowds. I don't like people. So my dream vacation is a hotel room somewhere with a hot tub in the room, maybe a nice view of a beach with no people on it, because I don't like people. I don't want to see people. Maybe like a little private beach area. Or even just like the woods. That would be fine too. Like the mountains, the woods. That would also be fine.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe like one person that I bring with me. Maybe two. But two, then you have to start entertaining. I'd rather just have one person in a hot tub with me, room service. I don't drink, but on vacation I might slip off the wagon a little bit and drink some McGillicuddies or something. And that would be my total dream vacation, right? I have the cheapest taste in the world. I mean, I'm not looking to go to the Bahamas. I'm not looking to go to Italy. Although if I could afford it, I would probably go to Israel and never come back. Like if I went to Haifa, or where I really want to go is Tiberias. Like if I ever fled the country, that's where you would find me. You'd find me in Tiberias, Israel. That's where I would be. Such a historic place, like the beginning of civilization, the cradle of civilization. And I'd love to go, but if I went on vacation, I would literally never come back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's better off to just find a place in the mountains or near a beach, hot tub in the room, and that's it. But lots of other people, like my friend Jackie Estrella, she's literally once a week she's in a different country. Every time I go on Facebook, she's in China, she's in Russia, she's in the Ukraine, she's in South America, she's in Central America, she's in the Bahamas, she's in India. Every time I go on, she's somewhere else. We had lunch maybe about a month or two ago, and she said, if you could afford it and you could go anywhere, where would you go? And I said, I don't know, I don't care.
Right.
There's nowhere I really want to go, other than maybe Israel. And I used to want to go to Ireland, but they've become such communists in Ireland that I wouldn't be able to enjoy it. They've really just become communists in Ireland. So, anyways, let's thank our sponsors on the show. We got a whole bunch of new sponsors, and they're all up on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Century 21 McLennan Real Estate. Let's see. We just bounced down here because I always do them in the same order, and then after a while, people don't hear me. Salvatore's Restaurants, a free shout-out for Mike Agricola at Salvatore's. 4-Star Lighting. Harrow's Pies, a free shout-out to them because they help the homeless in Lawrence. J&W Shoes. Stadium Chiropractic behind Taco Bell in South Lawrence. Enterprise Bank, boom, Enterprise Bank on the docket. In with the Valley Patriot family. We love them. They help the homeless. They help the community. Every single person who works at Enterprise Bank is on a charity board somewhere in the Lawrence area. Whether it's the Exchange Club, the Rotary Club, the Lions Club. To work at Enterprise Bank, they don't force you, but they encourage you to be an outstanding member of the community by joining a charity board and helping the community. And so I love Jen and Marilyn and Jessica and Jesus and everybody over at Enterprise Bank, not just in Lawrence, but also in Methuen. W3 On, if you need somebody to do your website, they do my website. They do the Valley Patriot website. And I look up and I can't see me. It's okay, thank you. W3 On, that's our buddy Dave DiNatale, who does the Valley Patriot website. Who else we have? Chris's Barbershop. So Chris's Barbershop, Chris Alvarado, great guy, has a barbershop above Sevmar on Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. So what you do is you go and you have some great kibbe and hummus at Sevmar, and when you're done, you go up and you get yourself a haircut. Or vice versa, you get yourself a haircut, then you bring your friends downstairs, have a couple of drinks at the bar, maybe have some appetizers. 11 Restaurant at 226 Essex Street. I think they're opening next week. I don't have a specific date, but I was told toward the end of next week we're going to do like a soft opening, and then the following week I think they're going to do a grand opening. That's going to be like really good Dominican food. And if you know me, you know I like Dominican food. Actually, I like all food because I'm a fat bastard now. I'm literally 60 pounds heavier than when I went into the hospital last year. Is that blinking at me, or is okay? It's good. Let's see. Prime Insurance, Doug Mercurio, the Doug Mercurio Loft of Prime Insurance in North Reading. Patrick's Eatery. I should actually break this out through the whole show because the list is so long. By the time I'm done reading it, the show is over. Patrick's Eatery, which is the old Harrison's roast beef. And boy, do they have a bunch of new stuff there, which is pretty good. Last Monday I was there. They don't serve roast beef on Monday. So Monday, no roast beef. So I went in for roast beef, and he said, we don't have roast beef. So I said, well, all right, I'll try the lobster roll. Oh, my God, it was so good. Now, I like lobster rolls that don't have mayonnaise. I'm not a mayonnaise guy. Mm-hmm. Now, you have your own taste, right? But I I asked I said, make sure there's no mayonnaise. He goes, no, we don't put mayonnaise in it. I brought it home, and I thought, it's a lobster roll. Most places, not that good. Even seafood places, not that good. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. Well, what else do we have? Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors. I guess Dave Idconsoli had the police outside his house today. There was a little kerfuffle going on.
Oh.
We were watching the drama going on over there. He's looking for workers. So Pleasant Valley Landscaping, if you're looking to work, not if you're looking for a job, but if you're looking to work, you want to work for Dave Idconsoli at Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors. Who else do we have? And then our long-term advertisers, AFC Urgent Care, Clear Path for Veterans New England, Tomo and Shaken Seafood, a free shout-out to our very good friend, Attorney Paul Lambert of Lambert and Randone, Marston and Son Construction, EIS Investigation, the Zanny Pesci Law Office, and I think we already said Century 21 McLennan Real Estate, but we'll say them again. So, Chrissy.
Tom.
Big show last week.
Huge show last week.
Huge show. I'm watching the numbers, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm watching it almost like when we had the mayor's debate from Methuen 6 years ago.
Yeah.
When that big contentious, it was Neil Perry versus Jen Canaan, who I really wish would get back involved. I think Methuen's really missing a voice like hers. But anyways, that I think we topped that one off at like 11,000 Facebook views, and the audio downloads were even more astronomical.
Yeah.
And we're not quite there yet. Like I think last week's show was the second highest rated show ever. I could be wrong. Maybe there's another one that beat it that I'm not thinking of.
I'm not sure yet. I got to go back through, but it's looking like it might.
Yeah, I think it is. So you might want to take a look at last week's show. This week, again, like I said, you're on vacation. Nobody really cares. We're going to talk about a couple of things. I do want to talk about the vice presidential pick of Kamala Harris. But before I get there was a great story that everybody missed. And I know that you missed it because it wasn't a sexy story. And people don't pay attention to the stories unless they're sexy, which is why CNN has become tragedy TV and Fox News has become tragedy TV. Because if it's not bleeding, if it's not tragic, if it's not drama, people don't want to consume it, even though it's a really good and really thoughtful and really intellectual story that people should think about. So I want to talk about that story today. I saw it on CNN, which was interesting, because CNN, I don't think, covered the original story in 2023 when it happened. So I saw the follow-up story last night. They only did about a minute and a half on it, and they never talked about it again the rest of the day. They showed it, I think, at the 1 o'clock hour, and then maybe again, I think, at like the 3 o'clock hour. It was a minute and a half on each. It was the same report on both. There was no new information, but at least they talked about it. I don't think Fox talked about it, but I don't really watch Fox. Every once in a while, I'll go over just to see what their top stories are, to compare it to CNN, then go back to CNN. I checked MSNBC. I checked a whole bunch of others. I didn't really see it, but it is out there. Like, it's a story. It's being talked about, and it's kind of under the radar. It really needs to be a much bigger story. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk about Kamala Harris. Last year, and I'm going to give you like the overview. I'm not going to get into the detail because it's not really important. What's important is the moral of the story. So please don't send me emails. Don't be a petty tyrant and say I got a detail wrong, because getting a detail wrong doesn't change the point of the story. So if I say something happened on a Wednesday and happened on a Thursday, it's not material, okay? All right, now that I've sufficiently scolded my my audience. In Marion County, Kansas, the Marion County newspaper is called, let me pull it up, should have had it in front of me, but I don't, the Marion County Record. It's a small weekly newspaper, kind of like the Valley Patriot, right? It's a small weekly newspaper. I went online, it looks like it's probably about maybe 28 pages, 32 pages, somewhere around there. And it's a weekly paper, kind of like Rumbo used to be, kind of like Methuen Loop Weekly used to be, what the North Andover Citizen used to be when we had weekly papers. I'm a monthly, and they were a weekly. And so the short story is somebody leaked a sheriff's department document to the Marion County Record. That's the name of the newspaper. And unfortunately, you have a lot of people in law enforcement who think that because they're involved in enforcing the law, they can just fucking make the laws up as they go. They think that because they have some authority, that they have ultimate authority, We saw that in Methuen with my case. We saw that in Lawrence in a couple of cases where police officers were let go. The Bill Green case, for example. We saw it with Charlie Reardon when he was the sheriff of Essex County. We saw it with, who's the guy who replaced him? Frank Cousins, who was the sheriff of Essex County. Sometimes, and not all police officers, in fact, not most police officers, but there's an awful lot of police officers out there, sheriff's department, corrections officers, who think that because they have some authority, that they're the authority. So this sheriff of Marion County, whose name is Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody, went and got a warrant somehow. We don't know how, but somehow. He got a warrant from a judge, allowing him to seize the records of the Marion County Record newspaper because they had received a confidential document that was leaked to them by someone in his department. You following me? So someone in his department leaks a confidential document to the newspaper, and the sheriff goes and seizes the computers and the files of the newspaper, claiming that they're in possession of stolen files. Therefore, he can get a warrant, seize their files, and shut them down, which is what he did. That's what he did. He seized their files, and he shut them down, or at least he tried to shut them down. So this has been going on for about a year. This touched off a firestorm among newspapers, but the cable news isn't talking about it. ABC doesn't really seem to be talking about it. Smatterings of stories here or there, but it's not the outrageous story that it should be. Imagine for a minute that somebody in the Lawrence Police Department finds a document that proves that the police chief is stealing money, and they leak it to the Valley Patriot. I'm going to try and make this local so you understand what happened, right? So we're just imagining, it didn't happen, but we're going to imagine that someone in the Lawrence Police Department leaks a document to the Valley Patriot showing the police chief is stealing money. But the document they leak is a sealed document. And who sealed it? The chief sealed it, because he's the chief, right? Okay. So while the Valley Patriot is getting ready to publish a newspaper with the information in the document, the police department finds out, someone in the police department finds out, and they come and they raid the Valley Patriot office, take all of our computers and all of our files. That's what happened here. They went and they seized this guy's file, and because his mom, 98-year-old mother, was half owner of the paper, she had such stress over the raid of the office. Do you have that photo? We actually have a photo of them raiding the office. These scummy, disgusting police officers. Yeah, don't show that picture. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'll be in jail again. These scummy police officers went in, and there's a photo of it from the... So here's what they did. They tried to take police officers. Bad cops will always do this. They'll go into a place where they know they're going to do wrongdoing, and the first thing they'll do is they'll turn off the cameras or they'll seize the surveillance footage. But this guy had a secret camera on top of the regular surveillance. So this is them. This is a picture of them raiding the Marion County Record office. And I think this is like an office like in the guy's basement. I'm not sure if it's in his house or next door to his house, but he's kind of like me. He works from home. It's a small weekly newspaper. There's the town that they live in is like 1,900 people. It's a small town. It's kind of like Durham, New Hampshire, right? And they went in and they seized everything, thinking that because they have authority, they have some authority, that they have all authority. Well, as of yesterday, the prosecutors of Marion County have announced that they are going to be indicting and charging Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody. And here's why. There's a number of reasons why. First, he abuses authority. Secondly, people need to understand there's a case. Don't hold me to the name of the case. I tried to Google it really quickly before I came on, and I couldn't find the actual name of the case. But there's a case that went up to the appellate court. I don't think it made it to the Supreme Court, but it made it to the appellate court. It was a case involving Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich was on his cell phone. He was on a highway, and this is when cell phones were like brand new. It was like 1997, 1998. It was one of those flip phones, right? A little unsecure. It's out there in the world, and there's a guy at home who's got a police scanner, and he hears the phone call, and he records it. He realizes that he's listening to Newt Gingrich, who's I think the senator at the time, and he records it, and he gives it to a local newspaper. And the newspaper gets sued by Newt Gingrich, claiming because they illegally obtained the evidence that they were publishing, that they didn't have the right to publish it. And what the courts have said, and by the way, they said this in a number of other cases. I'm just remembering the Newt Gingrich case because I wrote a report on it when I was in college. What the court said was that as long as the media entity, meaning newspaper or maybe Channel 7 News or CNN or maybe even like a news radio station like WCAP in Lowell, as long as the news media outlet didn't have a hand in the illegally obtained documents or files or materials, that they are free under the First Amendment to publish those materials. So if I hire Chrissy to break into your house and find some secret documents that you're stealing tax money, you're cheating on your taxes, and she gives them to me, as long as I didn't hire her to do that, I can publish it. But if I hire her to go and do it, then I have a hand in it, and then I can be charged for breaking the law because she broke the law. So if you break the law and then you give those documents to a member of the media, as long as the media didn't tell you to do it, there's no evidence that they hired you to do it, then it's under the First Amendment, they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. And so rather than the Marion County Police Chief, Gideon Cody, reading the law before he went out and abused his authority, took a deep breath before he abused his authority, he probably wouldn't be losing his badge and going to jail, but he's going to. And he's going to because he lied on the warrant application for the judge and conflict of interest. This was about his own corruption in his department. And there are court cases all over the place. I only cited one, but there's a whole bunch of them that state that as long as the guy that runs the Marion County Record isn't the guy that broke the law by leaking this document from his own department. It was one of his own officers, by the way, that leaked this. I think the guy actually came forward at some point. And I think he lost his job over it, too. But as long as this guy, his name is Eric Meyer, as long as he didn't have a hand in the illegality of the releasing of the documents, that he's able to do whatever the hell he wants. Now, I also think, and I don't say this often about a cop, but I'm going to say it here. I also think that Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody should be charged with murder. Because the day after this illegal raid and the illegal seizing of a newspaper's computer files and physical files and file cabinets, Eric Meyer's mom, again, who's 98 years old and half owner of the paper, had a heart attack and died from the stress. So had this guy not broken the law, had this guy just bothered to pull up a Google search of the legality of what he was about to do, he wouldn't have done it. Hopefully he wouldn't have done it. If he did, then he's even more culpable. Instead, he decided to push his weight around because he's law enforcement. And again, we see this all the time. Listen, 90% of the cops out there are good cops. Unfortunately, there's at least 10% or more that are not good cops. And that's too much. The one thing that the George Floyd protesters were right about is that there are bad cops. And unfortunately, I think that the right, the conservatives, the pro-Trump people, both sides of the political spectrum can never give the other side their due. Both sides can never say, you're right. They can never concede an inch. So the people who are pro-cop were out there saying, no cop has ever done anything wrong. This is horrible that they would make this accusation. Well, no, there are cops out there that do horrible things. There are cops out there that make mistakes. And there are cops out there that aren't making mistakes. There are cops out there that are really abusing their authority and pushing themselves around. We talked about the Salem, New Hampshire police officer on a previous show who called me on the phone and left me a voice message, which I still have to this day, threatening to arrest me because I videotaped an incident that he had in the city of Lawrence that he wasn't even supposed to be in. Someone stole his cruiser. He chased some people from Salem, New Hampshire into Lawrence. I happened to be live on Facebook at the time. They went right by me. I followed them. He pulled them over. The cop pulled over with 5 people. He gets out of his cruiser and walks over to them. They jump out, run past him, jump in his cruiser, and take off. And then he called me the next day and threatened to arrest me if I didn't take my video down off Facebook and YouTube. So they're out there. There are guys out there. And I don't want you guys to think that because I'm pro-cop, because I'm 100% pro-cop, but I'm pro-good cop. And these cops stepped over the line and caused a woman her death. And I'm sure that they didn't intend to cause her death, so maybe they should be charged with involuntary manslaughter, but they damn well should be charged. We have a First Amendment in this country. You saw last week's show. You know what I went through to get my story out on defending my First Amendment right. I went to jail to defend my First Amendment right. This woman lost her life defending her First Amendment right. She's a 98-year-old lady dealing with stress and had a heart attack because the cops illegally came in and wanted to know who's the snitch. They wanted to know who's the source, who leaked the document, and then retribution on the newspaper that was blowing the lid off of it. And if you think this is an isolated case, it's not an isolated case. This is happening all over the country. Part of the reason is you've got members of the media overstepping their authority. So when the media oversteps their authority, law enforcement oversteps their authority. Now everybody's overstepping their authority and there are no more fucking rules anymore. That's part of the problem. And I will take full responsibility for any time I've ever done that. However, no matter how bad a member of the press behaves, and we see it every day at the White House, we see it every day on TV if you're watching TV, if you're watching cable news. No matter how bad a member of the press acts, police officers have to be held to a higher standard. They represent the government. They carry a gun. They're the only people in the country legally allowed to kill you. And I've had officers treat me badly in my lifetime. We've detailed some of those on the show. But somebody has to do something about it. And so, thank God, the Marion County prosecutors are going after Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody. Because 90% of the time, I'm on that guy's side. 90% of the time, even if the guy makes a mistake, I'm going to defend the cop. Not on this one. Not on this one. So keep an eye on that, because it's going to be interesting to see what they charge him with. It would be nice to see manslaughter. That would be a nice charge. I think that would certainly send a message to law enforcement around the country that you don't fuck around with the First Amendment. It's the First Amendment for a reason. Our founding fathers were geniuses. Now let's talk about our Democrat vice presidential nominee, who made the most ridiculous statement, the most dishonest statement yesterday at a rally. Yes, everybody's talking about his stolen valor. He claimed that he saw battle and he never saw battle. He abandoned his troops before they went to war, before they went into Iraq. That's all true. That's alarming. Not as alarming as what he said yesterday at a rally. He said, quote, hate speech and misinformation is not protected under the First Amendment. That's what he said. Go back and watch the meeting, watch the rally from yesterday. He got up at a podium to these cheering sheeps, these cheering lemmings, who screamed when he said it. Quote, misinformation and hate speech are not protected by the First Amendment. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Let me say that again. Yes, they are. And what's really scary is that both political parties have sycophants, many of them, who will cheer if these guys get up and said, and we should kill children who are in the third grade and gouge their eyeballs out with a ice cream scoop, and they'll cheer. It doesn't matter what this guy is saying at the podium. They're going to cheer because they're lemmings. They're conditioned. They're brainwashed. They just say yes to whatever it is their leaders tell them to think. So I'm watching this rally, and I'm not a liberal guy. A lot of things that he said I agreed with. A lot of things Kamala Harris said I agree with. We're going to talk about that on subsequent shows. But when he dared to say, it's not a right-wing conspiracy, by the way. It's not a right-wing conspiracy to defend the First Amendment. When he dared to say that hate speech, he said misinformation and hate speech are not protected by the First Amendment. This guy's going to be vice president and a heartbeat away from the presidency, and he doesn't think you have a First Amendment right to engage in hate speech? And by the way, what is hate speech? It's so vague it can be whatever you want it to be. It's just like everything else in this culture. Hate speech can be anything you want. You could say something that I consider hate speech, and I could say the same thing the next day, and Chrissy might say, no, I don't consider that hateful at all. And this is what the people who are running our government want from us. They want to change the definition of the First Amendment. That's why they want to stack the courts. They want to change the First Amendment and say misinformation is not hate speech. Well, we were told during COVID that it was misinformation when people said wearing a cloth mask didn't stop COVID. Remember, I came in every week. Everybody else was stuck at home. I came in every week and did a show. and railed against this from day one, and I was called all kinds of things. I was killing people. I was taking people's lives in danger. I was suspended from Facebook for 30 days during COVID because I went on and said that I believe that the COVID-19 coronavirus came from the coronavirus lab in Wuhan, China. Not a pangolin from a wet market. And I lost 30 days of Facebook because of it. That was considered misinformation. Well, here we are 4 years later, and guess what it turns out? It turns out that misinformation was true. So to say misinformation is not free speech, what he's really saying is he doesn't think it should be free speech. That's what he's saying. Because if you read the law and you read the Supreme Court rulings, misinformation, absolutely. You have a right to be wrong in this country. You have a right to say today is Saturday if it's Thursday. You have a right to say if you drink bleach, it'll kill the coronavirus and you'll be fine. You have a right to say those things. But he doesn't think you should, and neither does Kamala Harris. They don't think you should be able to say those things because once they label something misinformation, nobody's thinking about who's doing the labeling. Right? So if Facebook decides something is misinformation, what about the government? What if the government decides something is misinformation? What if a police officer decides something is misinformation? Do you know that there are people serving more than 5 years in prison in England right now? In England. We're not talking Iran. We're not talking China. There are people serving 5 years or more in England for going on Facebook and saying that the COVID vaccine doesn't work. There are people doing 5 years in prison. I'm not making that up. Look it up. Do a Google search. By the way, you should do that anytime I say anything on the show. You should be doing a Google search and fact-checking me. Sometimes I get something wrong. It doesn't change the point, though, usually. Usually I get a little detail wrong, but it doesn't change the point. And the point that I'm making now is you've got a guy, everybody's concerned about stolen valor. He claimed he was in battle, and he wasn't. That's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's not. Everybody's all upset that he abandoned his unit, his National Guard unit, before they get deployed to Iraq. And they're using and the other side's using the excuse, well, he didn't get the orders till after he put in for his papers. If you know any veterans at all that have served, you know that before they get officially notified, everyone knows what's coming down the pike. Everybody knows what orders are coming down because everybody's preparing for it. And they're preparing to deploy because they know the orders are coming. But while everyone's talking about that, you know what no one's talking about? No one's talking about the fact this guy could be vice president of the United friggin' States, and he doesn't think you should have a right to be wrong. He doesn't think you have the right to say something someone else might consider hateful. Because what is hate speech after all? It's a made-up concept. No matter what you say, you could offend somebody, and they subjectively could take it as hateful. You could say something in jest, and someone just takes it the wrong way. You ever tell a joke and someone gets offended and you were just really being friendly with your friend? You were being joking with your friend, but they're having a bad day and they take it the wrong way? Should you go to jail for that? Should that be exempt from the First Amendment to the United States Constitution? Are you kidding me? Listen, if we lose the First Amendment, we lose everything else. If the government can create a category of speech that is so vague that they can use it to punish you for speaking, we lose the First Amendment. Now, there are some things you can't say, right? There's an exception to every rule. You can't, in the middle of a crowd, yell, let's kill the president when the president goes by. That's inciting violence. You can't do that. There are certain things under the First Amendment you can't do. They use the expression fire in a crowded theater. I like the presidential example much better. Because nobody understands fire in a crowded theater because nobody goes to the theater anymore, right? But the whole point of that is if there's a crowded theater and someone yells fire and there's a stampede, people could get hurt. So you're inciting people to get hurt if there's no fire in the theater. I like my example of the president better. If you're in a crowd and someone says, kill the Jew, that's hate speech, maybe, but it's inciting violence, definitely. And that's an exemption to the First Amendment. That's not allowed. But there's very few things. The category of things you're not allowed to say in this country is so infinitesimal. It's so small. It's relegated to like 3 things. And the rest is free speech. The rest, you have the right to say. It doesn't mean you should say it. You shouldn't call black people the N-word. You shouldn't call mentally disabled people retards. But do you have the right to say it? Yes. You know what else you have the right to? You have the right to bear the consequences of saying it. So if you want to walk up to a black guy and call him the N-word, he might punch you in the face. And he might go to jail for punching you in the face. But he still punched you in the face, didn't he? There's still going to be consequences for what you said. But you still have the freaking right to say it. So, after last week's show about the First Amendment, I thought today we'd come in and we talk about these two cases. I can't believe the show's almost over. Show actually is over. What's that? Oh, we get five extra minutes, so we'll hit the sponsors again. I watched this rally yesterday, and I'm trying to watch with an open mind because I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. I'm voting for RFK. But I want to watch because a lot of times the left is right about something. They just write about it for the wrong reasons. And a lot of times, if you're a leftist, you have to understand that Donald Trump is actually right about some things, and you might just not agree with his reasons. Like he was for banning bump stocks. You guys loved that until Donald Trump did it, and then suddenly you didn't like it anymore because it was Trump, which is ridiculous. Stop doing that. So I like to watch these things and say, you know what? Maybe Kamala Harris is going to have a point. Maybe Tim Walz is going to have a point that I'm going to agree with. And I actually found myself agreeing with some of the things that they said. It's not going to make me vote for him. But it did make me agree with some of the things that they said and made me think a little differently about them. Whether they mean it or not, we'll find out, right? But whenever he said misinformation and hate speech is not protected under the First Amendment, my thought was, they're calling Trump a Nazi? They're calling Trump a Nazi, but they want the government to regulate what's hate speech? They want the government to regulate what's misinformation? And this guy's going to be a heartbeat from the president? If they win? No, there's no way anybody can vote for these people. I don't care what your other issues are. I don't care if you want to kill your babies and they're all for abortion and they're going to let you kill your babies. You can't vote for these two people. I don't care who else you vote for. Write in your mom if you have to. Write in Bernie Sanders. You can't vote for these two. They're going to destroy the First Amendment while they're accusing Donald Trump of being a fascist. So that's it for the show. I really appreciate everybody watching last week's show. So today was just kind of a hodgepodge. Let's talk about our sponsors a little bit. Century 21 McLennan Real Estate, the Zany Pesci Law Office, Marston & Son Construction, EIS, Investigation and Gun Training, who remains on the Valley Patriot payroll. They're doing amazing work for us. Next month, we're going to have at least 2 stories that they've dug up for us. A free shout-out to attorney Paul Lambert, Tono and Shaken Seafood, Clear Path for Veterans New England, AFC Urgent Care, Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, Patrick's Eatery, the old Harrison's roast beef. Go by there and you've got to try their food. You really have to try the Lebanese food, the grape leaves and the hummus. Jim Monier is doing the grape leaves and the hummus from Jim's Kebabs, and they're actually really, really good. Prime Insurance in North Reading with the Curio Law Office, 11 Restaurant at 226 Essex Street, Chris's Barbershop, Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire, Enterprise Bank in Lawrence and Methuen, W3 On, Stadium Chiropractic, J&W Shoes, a free shout-out to Harrow's Pies, 4-Star Lighting, and another free shout-out to my buddy Mike Agricola and Tim Wood at Salvatore's Restaurant. Make sure you get your copy of the Valley Patriot. They are on stands everywhere, and they're going like crazy. Sounds like Melvin Taylor says you got to go home. So go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.